your experiences, you mentioned that you add like NUS business schools, but
Yeah.
you generally add it in education as well.
Yes.
So, like, do we add it both places or
Yes,
one?
both. Try for both because it increases your SEO. So people might look for you in education, but they also might look for you in experience. So look in both different areas. So it's better. And also, as you'll see, NUS has two. NUS Business School, NUS. So think about both. Yeah. And then in the experience as well. So you want to... Yeah, question?
Sorry, just
there you go.
a question on experience.
Yeah.
Should we start removing older experience? No,
No, because there's no downside putting more experience on there. There's basically only upside because it increases your optimization.
even if it's less relevant to the work you're doing now.
Yeah, but it says a story. It shows a story. It's like a CV. It shows a story. It leads people in. And basically people like to see you started basically, working in a bar or a restaurant or a shop, for example, and you grew yourself up. And it adds to your story. I mean, I put all my, I worked in a HMV when I was 16 years old. It's still on my LinkedIn. So because it tells a story, and I use that in some of my stories about how I learned about marketing in HMV when I was studying marketing at school. So you can actually use it to your advantage. It's part of your story. So it's better to be out there and actually put it in there. And you also might get some alumni who actually also worked at that particular place when you were young as well. And you can tell the story on your LinkedIn, and basically people can look at it. So there's no downside to putting it up there. It's just extra optimization. And LinkedIn also like complete profiles, don't forget as well. So LinkedIn will increase your rankings if you have a complete profile. So LinkedIn is like, the more you put on, a bit like Google and Google search, the more they have to find in terms of keywords. Anybody else any questions? Yeah. Very good question. I mean, a lot of detail about the company, but also what you did at the company. And again, the more the better, because LinkedIn works in keywords. So the more keywords you have, the more you get found. If someone puts in, for example, engineer, financial engineer, VC, it'll come up more if you have it mentioned more in your profile. It's context. It's context. So it's a bit like when Google searches for things like, it looks at the context. You can't just put in, 1,000 words of, LinkedIn. You've got to put it in context and then look at it. That's why LinkedIn comes up very high when it comes to Google, because the amount of work and links that go into your profile actually comes up very high. Good. Say again. Yes. That's why I put the section in about what else do you do. So put in all the other stuff you put in there, the non-voluntary stuff, like, I do this, I do the SICC, I do SMU, put all that stuff in there. So the more stuff in there, the better, because it's all part of your personal brand. And also it's part of your story. So you can also add it to your summary section too. You can actually put in there as part of your story, I do this at the weekends, I do the non-profit here, I help, this, that, and the other. It's part of your personal brand, and people will look at that from a career point of view very, very positively. So it's, yeah, very, very good way of doing it. Any question? Yeah.
What if you share a name with someone quite famous?
Yeah, that happens too.
I have my name saved with it. He's an American civil rights hero. But ultimately, he was the first person to go to the desegregated University of Mississippi.
Wow.
In Oxford, Mississippi, and I was at Oxford. James married at Oxford.
Wow.
You get a lot of stuff about US civil rights, which is great. But I was wondering if you had any advice on how you do
So it's a very, very good. It's a very good question. It obviously affects only a minority of people. So you have to try and distinguish yourself by using keywords and the right headlines. Well, that's why your headline's very important. So you have to basically say what you are doing in Singapore, for example, and what industry you're in, and then your blogging and your content and your experience actually match that as well. And then LinkedIn will look at it slightly differently. There's nothing you can do about the name, but you can do it so that it comes up where you look for you in Singapore, it'll come up. Whereas if just you on Google, obviously it'll rank the most famous person, because that's what Google does. But also the most substantiation and the most links to that particular person. That's the way it tends to work. So the way you do it on LinkedIn is just basically frame it in a Singapore frame and with what you're doing, because presumably you're not doing civil rights. No. So you have to basically put that on. But that's even more reason why you need keywords in your summary section, your experience. You need links that are not about what the other person's about, for example. So you have to distinguish yourself. Like anybody who has the same name as somebody else, you make it distinctive about you. That's what obviously personal branding is all about. But yeah, but unfortunately you can't obviously manipulate Google, so it takes away all the other searches. Anybody else got any questions about profile or summary section? If you do have any other questions you want to ask them now, you can actually reach out to me and my team afterwards, and we'll happily answer anything you have as a kind of question. You might think about something afterwards, for example. So don't think this is the end of the conversation or the end of what we can give you in terms of information. You know, we're there for you if you want to basically reach out and have a thought, have a question. But basically, LinkedIn's the more the merrier. And if you you are in a situation where you are looking at marketing a company, it's best to market a company through your profile. LinkedIn's very much about people. It's not about companies. The best way of illustrating that is there are 600 million people on LinkedIn who presumably have some kind of brand association with LinkedIn. But only 4 million people follow the LinkedIn company page. So you have to ask yourself, if LinkedIn can't get you on LinkedIn to follow LinkedIn on LinkedIn, what hope has anybody else got? Because they're not paying for millions of dollars of advertising. Their advertising is free. They've only got 4 million people. So it's all about people. You look at Rico DeBlanc, for example. He's the CEO of SHKP Hotels, who owns the Ritz-Carlton. He writes some fantastic stuff, not about the hotels, but about his philosophy. So he writes, clean office, happy office, for example, or happy employees, happy guests. We're talking about employee branding, yes?
Yeah, so you mentioned that you will discuss about the sales navigator.
Yes.
Later?
Yes.
Okay.
There are 10 tips, that's the 10th. It's coming, don't worry. So this is all about how you use content to basically market a company. So, while Apple learned from the Ritz-Carlton, so you're in a position of power at your company, in your career, it's great for you and for your employer branding to talk about your philosophy, your employer branding philosophy, for example. So he talked about what he learned about Apple, what he learned about Ritz-Carlton, what Apple taught him. Or even things like, how old are you and how old your philosophy is. So he's making it personal, but also about business. Arne Sorenson's very good as well. Okay, he's the president and CEO of Marriott, but he's a good example about how he relates to people by posting about, for example, moving with purpose on Global Running Day. So making people realize that he's a CEO, but also he's a man who basically likes to run and likes to exercise. And also he can relate to people, for example. So he talks about his Matter story. Now the reason, you will know this, on Labor Day, he chose his Matter is because his Matter is an immigrant. And he deliberately went out there to go, screw you, Trump, my best employee is an immigrant. And we're all immigrants in America, all together. We should be welcoming people because actually she gave the best customer service to his employees and to his customers. And he highlighted that deliberately because he's very much anti-Trump if you read his blogs, which is actually quite an interesting position to take for the biggest American hotel chain in the world. He does it the whole time. But he also writes some interesting stuff about, about his philosophy about success is never final, which is what Bill Marriott used to say. It's about perfection. It's about, seeking out that customer experience, because obviously hotels are all about customer experience. The Marriott International page has twice as many followers as his, but the engagement levels are much less, because people follow people, not companies on LinkedIn. Best example about Richard Branson. Richard Branson's got 17 million followers on LinkedIn. Virgin Atlantic of 100,000. So basically, even Richard Branson can't get you to follow Virgin Atlantic, the sexiest brand that he has. So he markets Virgin Atlantic through himself, his own blogging. Talks about company culture. Talks about being an entrepreneur. Talks about different things. Virgin Atlantic have no engagement on their posts. 100 likes, 3 comments. His last post got 12,000 likes, 700 comments. So it's all about him. He markets the Virgin brand through him. So if you're in charge of marketing, if you're in charge of HR at your company, you have to think about how you can market your company through your LinkedIn profile. And that's not a one-off either. That's a continuous strategy to gain people to want to work for you.